and welcome to another edition of From the Source. Today, my guest will be Barbara Donno, Mayor of Plandome Manor. Mayor Donno has served as Mayor of Plandome Manor since 2007. She has a wealth of experience. A former teacher, Barbara had served on the Manhasset School Board for 9 years, 4 as board president. She's worked tirelessly on behalf of the Republican Party and at one time ran for New York State Senate. She and her husband, Robert, have successfully raised 2 children in Manhasset. Thanks for joining me today, Barbara. Welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me.
So, our viewers love to know, our elected officials, and you've been doing this for a while, but, new people come into Manhasset all the time, especially, as people age out and turn over. So tell our viewers, how did you become involved in local government?
It actually started becoming involved in, I guess, what you would call politics a long time ago. I was actually president of my student government when I was in high school, which was a very long time ago.
Really?
And after college, I became a teacher and was interested in the Board of Education and what they did. And as a teacher, I taught in Smithtown. As a teacher, I was very interested in how or what kind of influence they had over our curriculum and the policies in the school. I left teaching to raise my children, and when my daughter entered elementary school, I was very concerned with the curriculum at the time. I wasn't really happy with parts of the curriculum, and started going to meetings and decided that I would like to run for the Board of Education so that I would have some say in the curriculum and what was going on and understanding how it was developed and why they thought this was best for the children. And so I did run for Board of Education in Manhasset, and I was on the Board of Education for 9 years. I was president of the Board of Education for 4.
So your background in teaching was in English, math, science?
No, it was elementary school.
Elementary. Oh, so
Correct.
It's everything. Okay.
Right. I was an elementary school teacher.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's good.
So from there, when I was on the Board of Education for 9 years, and I stepped down after my 9th year, I said, well, this is enough. And got involved in village government, and I wasn't happy with some of the things that I saw going on in our government at the time in the village, and I made my feelings known, and I said to myself, rather than complain about it, do something about it.
Okay.
And so I ran for mayor in 2007, and I won, and I've been mayor ever since.
No, you've always lived in Plandome Manor.
Well, not always, no, since I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I was born and raised in Easton, Pennsylvania, which isn't too far from here. And then moved here when I got married. So I've lived in Plandome Manor for 38 years.
Amazing.
Yes.
No, it's so funny that you say Easton because my mom's in Doylestown.
Oh, is she really?
Like so close.
Yes,
so close.
It is. It is. I still go back.
Beautiful.
I still have family back there, so we go back quite often.
It's gorgeous.
It
gorgeous
is nice
over there.
It is nice.
So, what motivates you to continue being mayor? I know there's so much going on.
There is. I love Plandome Manor. I love the village. I love the people. I raised my children there, and I want to make sure that Plandome Manor stays Plandome Manor. I want to make sure that the residents that now live there and want to move into Plandome Manor are just as happy with it and want to stay there and raise their families there. And it's just being able to make the decisions with my board of trustees and helping our residents. And they're there for a particular reason, and so we just want to make sure that they stay there and that they're happy with what's going on.
Now, do you have a hard time because your location is on the water, okay?
Part of it.
And part of it is, internal. How much of a challenge is that for you?
The water is more of a challenge than anything else, but
Okay.
we're more concerned with the infrastructure. The village was incorporated in 1931, and the infrastructure, of course, over time, it has deteriorated.
Right.
So, we are constantly trying to upgrade the roads, repave the roads, our water mains, our gas mains. And it, of course, takes money to do that. And we've got a tax cap that we have to live within. And so it's, a struggle to make sure that we are able to give our residents the, all of the, trying to think of the word, everything that they expect from the village. We are responsible for maintaining all the roads. We own most of the roads. There are parts of the village that are owned by the residents. That we have what we call a private road areas. There are 3 or 4 areas within the village, and the homeowners own that road. But the rest of the roads are owned by the village, so we have to make sure that that they're paved, they're maintained, their potholes are filled, and we do sand and sweep all the roads, including the private roads, and that we are allowed to do by court order. Mm-hmm. So, most villages cannot do that, but we can. We do have a court order that allows us to do that.
I didn't even know that there were private roads within the village. That's news to me.
Many villages have private roads.
Okay.
And the homeowner owns out into the middle of the road.
Okay.
And there's, there are a few areas, some are very large areas, there are a few areas that are private road areas. And in some of those areas, it's very complicated, but, we did go to court when I first became mayor, and we were able to have the court, because the village had always maintained those roads, and then they found out at some point that they weren't allowed to do that because you're actually expending taxpayer money to take care of roads that are owned privately. So that became a court case right before I became mayor, and we went to court, and we were able to come to an agreement, and the judge allowed us to continue just to sand, sweep, and plow those roads. We don't maintain them, but we do offer the services that we had always offered.
Okay. Speaking of roads, there is one road that everybody uses,
Yes.
and I understand that there is a situation where the culvert, which is there, is deteriorating rapidly.
Yes.
And this has been going on for years. I think funding was found under Senator Martin.
Correct.
And the town of North Hempstead. I think that there's some sort of relationship. Maybe you can elaborate on this and talk to us about the status of it.
Sure. The culvert, I don't know if you mention culvert to people, they really don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's actually our culvert happens to be a 20-foot diameter pipe underneath North Plandome Road, which is one of 2 main roads out of Port Washington and Sands Point. It's also considered a federal evacuation route.
Okay.
So this culvert is in the causeway between Leeds Pond and Manhasset Bay, and it is deteriorating. We had gone into the culvert. We actually saw the road starting to cave slightly and crack.
I see.
And about 10, 11 years ago, and we went into the culvert and saw that we had engineers go into the culvert also, and we saw that it was starting to deteriorate. So we did go to the town of North Hempstead. We were told that it belonged to them. Leeds Pond belongs to the town of North Hempstead.
I see.
And the property on the other side of North Plandome Road also belongs to the town of North Hempstead. So just that little area of road belongs to the village
Okay.
over that culvert. The whole road belongs to us, but
But underneath,
it belongs to the town of North
Okay.
Hempstead. And we found paperwork that confirmed that it belonged to the town of North Hempstead and that they had agreed to always maintain and repair that culvert.
Right.
And so began our discussions with the town of North Hempstead in 2010. We started the discussions probably around 2008, and 2014, Senator Martins, I told him about it, and he went into the culvert and he saw the condition
Right.
of the culvert and that it had deteriorated badly. And he went to the state and was able to obtain a $1.5 million grant for the town of North Hempstead to repair the culvert.
Okay.
The culvert has still not been repaired, but they are in the process. They had gone out to bid. They just stabilized it because engineers determined that it needed stabilization, so they just finished stabilizing it. And from what I understand, they will be going in July 1st to
Replace the...
well, I don't know that they're replacing it, but they will do a total and permanent repair on it so that
Okay.
it's stabilized and secure.
So I think it was winter, I remember taking a picture of this huge crane coming in. I never saw it close to that location, but I saw it coming in.
Right.
What happened at that time?
I don't know. I was getting phone calls from a lot of our residents asking about the crane. We thought the project was going to start.
Right.
But there are DEC issues, so there are certain times of the year that you can't work on it because of breeding times in the water. There's also the construction is determined by the tides, so they can't always do construction. There was an issue with National Grid, and they needed to move some gas mains or do something with gas mains, which they agreed to do. Then they realized that there were some electrical poles in the way, so we had to get PSEG involved, and they came in. And we've worked very closely with the town and with the utilities, and everyone has been very accommodating. So
Yeah.
as of now, as I said, the temporary repairs and stabilization has been done. It was just finished about a day or two ago. And they are expected to start the permanent repair in July.
In July. Okay. Well,
Let's hope.
Exactly. I know there's always something, but I know that when I spoke with Judy Bosworth, she's on top of this
Yes.
and really moving it forward. I mean,
Yes.
it certainly is a main artery, and
Right.
you know,
Well, the concern is for the safety of those that are walking and driving over this culvert.
right.
And I think everybody agrees that it just absolutely needs to get done. And now that the temporary repairs are done, they can move forward with the permanent repairs.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes, me too.
Now, you've done a lot to improve roadways. You created a safer crossroads at that intersection between Stonytown, Plandome North, and
Yes.
because having lived in the area for over 30 years myself, I know that it was dangerous.
Yes.
And I think you even put in a pathway for walking, and
Yes.
And was the fence that encloses Leeds Pond, was that you or the town of North Hempstead?
That was the town of North Hempstead.
Okay.
There was a very flimsy wire fence that surrounded Leeds Pond, and it was taken down many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and the black fence was put up. So, but there's I know exactly what you're talking about as far as the triangle, because I used to stop at the stop sign and everybody would look at everybody else, and we were all wondering who was going to go first, and it was like playing chicken. So that became a project for me because I felt we needed to redesign that, what we call the triangle,
Right.
that it needed to be redesigned. We did work with the county, and they were wonderful in working with us. We came up with the design with the county and our engineers, and the county came in and put in the stoplight. They put in more stoplights that I want, but that's the state requires that. I was thinking of maybe just one little stoplight, but
Right.
but we, I think, have 11. Believe it or not, if you
Really?
really count them. Yeah, if you really count them. I mean, there's not 11 individual
Oh, there's
lights.
3.
Well, there's, yeah, but there's all
But
kinds of sides, and then
sides.
there's,
Right.
there were many more than we thought would be there. But I think everyone's gotten used to it, and everyone is very grateful that those stoplights were put in, and they had also reconfigured that triangle. We're going to go in and widen that. So as you're coming from North Plandome Road onto Plandome Road,
Right.
it's a little bit narrow.
Yes.
And we intend to, hopefully, if we can get some funding, we're putting money aside to be able to do that. But it's a big project, and we do want to widen. It's part of it is owned by a resident, and
Right.
they are they're being very accommodating with it and saying, look, do what you have to do. But it's going to be expensive, and but we intend to do that project. We're hoping we get money from the state, so we'll have to ask our state senator if we can get some money. But
Well, that will be good because, now it seems like, well, the fixes that you've put in take time.
yes,
So it's not like, I mean, the people who are benefiting off of it today
Yes.
didn't realize that this took 5 or 7 years.
right.
Because that
Right.
seems to be the span of time.
It is. You're absolutely correct.
To require any kind of improvement.
Yes.
And that's an improvement to our quality of life.
Yes.
I mean, I know that Manhasset has been around since 16 whatever, and some of the roadways actually look like they could,
Yes.
have been, probably paved over from the dirt roads, but I thought that looked magnificent, and I know how hard you worked on the timing, because people were like complaining about the timing related to the stoplight
Right.
and everything. So you are so proactive at responding to concerns that are raised, related
Thank
to, and that's a big issue,
Well, it's part of being mayor, and you're there to advocate for your residents, and they need to feel comfortable to come to our village office. They usually speak to our clerk, Randy, who is she's amazing. I always call her the mayor because I really do believe that this village would not run as well as it does without her. And we have a building inspector who is really great with the residents, and we also have a treasurer and a code enforcement officer. So I'm very lucky to have a staff that's as good as they are. And I've got a board of trustees that are wonderful. I mean, we all work well together. We don't always agree on everything, but we can sit and discuss it and come to some kind of consensus as to what's best for the residents. And no one has their own agenda. Our agenda is our residents, and it's our village. And I think I'm very lucky to have a board of trustees that feels that way.
That's good, because that's the effective government.
Yes.
So it's very nice.
Yes, I'm very involved in Nassau County Village Officials Association, which is an association of mayors. We have 64 villages on Long Island.
Right.
Not on Long Island, I'm sorry, in Nassau County. and, which is a lot. We probably,
You were president of this
I was a few years ago. And it's a lot of networking, and we work together. I work very closely with the mayors in Manhasset and all the villages, and also the mayors in Port Washington. We're not an island unto ourselves. We
Right.
need to work together. We share a lot of our ideas. Sometimes, we need to help each other out. We also have our own Office of Emergency Management. It's called the Port Washington Manhasset Office of Emergency Management. So when we had Sandy, when Sandy came along, we worked together as a group trying to get the electricity back on, and one of the villages had electricity, so we always met in, actually it was Plandome Heights, and he was able to connect to the internet, so we were always meeting in his office, and all of us were on the phone with, at the time it was Loco.
Right.
We were on the phone trying to get electricity back to our residents, but we did that as a group. We sent out messages always through our Office of Emergency Management, and Peter Foreman is the commissioner, and he's deputy mayor in Sands Point, but he's also the commissioner of this group. And so we meet all the time. We meet once a month. We all work together, and I think the governor he talks about shared services and that we should make sure that we share services, and he has objectives for us. But we've always done that, at least our groups have.
Right.
We always share services and share ideas and help each other, and that's what villages should be doing.
Absolutely. That's
So-
power and unity.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So I know another issue that has come to light is the introduction of the 5G, and I guess the cellular service going to the next level.
Right.
Extenet was coming in to provide that service. How has that impacted the village of Plandome Manor?
Right now, they have submitted an application for permits to install in our village 20 cell nodes, which is the most of any of the villages around here, including the town of North Hempstead.
Is that because of the water?
We don't know.
Okay.
And part of our concern is we haven't seen all the studies
Right.
to determine why we need 20 and why we need them where they
Claim
are
it should-
asking to install them. We've had 2 public hearings that, of course, those are opened up to our residents because we need to hear from our residents. What are their concerns? Cell nodes are an FCC issue, and they will not allow you to use health concerns as a reason to deny, but we can use zoning as a reason to deny.
Okay.
They feel that the government has already addressed the health concerns and that these do not put our residents or any residents at risk. Whether that is a concern of everyone, but it's not something that we could use if we wanted to deny it. But we did want to hear from our residents. And we had 2 public hearings. We listened to our residents and to their concerns about the locations of where the cell nodes were supposed to go or are going or where they want to put them. But we feel, we have a consultant that we have hired. We hired a consultant many years ago when we realized that they were starting to come into villages on Long Island. And through our consultant, they have asked for more studies so that we can understand, why do you need to put 20 in our village? Maybe 5 are all that's needed. What made you determine that 20 was necessary, and do they need to go where you're asking to put them? Because there are many places where we're not happy with.
I see.
So that being said, we're still waiting to hear back from Extenet. We're not at the same point as other villages. We haven't heard back. We haven't gotten all the studies that we think we need to get. and we'll see what happens once all that happens.
I know that new legislation has come down from the governor, which he happened to omit in his State of the State, relating to the bail and the bail reform law. What implications, because I know that you have made a stand on this, do you feel that this legislation has on the village?
It does affect our court. Our village has a court.
Right.
And it does affect our court. My court clerk is our village clerk is also our court clerk.
Okay.
So she has been on the phone with Albany because she's also trying to understand how this criminal justice reform bill is affecting the courts. The thing that's of concern to everyone is this discovery, the discovery portion of it. I mean, not only is the fact that nonviolent crimes are given desk appearance tickets, which means there's no bail, they just are given a desk appearance ticket and they're out on the street. But there's also now a requirement that the discovery and all the information about that crime needs to be released back to the person who has received that ticket within 15 days. That affects us also in our building and code violations, so that affects our building department. Oh. So let's say, very simply, if a resident has a complaint about another something that's going on in a building situation, a home that's being built or renovated, within that 15 or 20 days, we have to release documents to that person about who has complained, their contact information.
So they know now who's complaining about them.
It's not going to be anonymous anymore unless
Right.
it's anonymous to us.
Okay.
And that's in everything. There are many villages. Freeport is one who is fighting it. Bob Kennedy, who is president of New York Conference of Mayors, and he's also the mayor in Freeport, has taken this to the governor. We've been up to Albany to do press conferences, and we've done a press conference here against this, asking the governor to please go back and take a look at, there are some good parts of it,
Right.
but there are parts that need to be reconsidered. And in a village like Freeport that has a big court system, this is going to cost his village a lot of money in order to get the discovery done during those 15 days. It's a lot of paperwork. I don't know, because our court certainly isn't like the larger courts, right. But I do know that there's a lot of extra money and increases in taxes that are going to be needed in order to implement the discovery in the court, the bail reform. So everyone is a little concerned about it. There's a lot of things that everyone's concerned about. We've signed petitions, and as I said, we've done some press conferences. I don't know if the governor hears us or not. I hope he does.
I think he has.
I hope.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching From the Source. Tune in next time for more in-depth interviews with members of your community.